My man is from Inglewood, graduated from Inglewood High School, Grammy-nominated rapper, winner of Rhythm and Flow on Netflix. Hey, y'all, make some noise for the big homie, DSmoke.
What's up, what's up? So I'm gonna just take my time real quick. I'm gonna take my time and get a good look at y'all. How y'all doing today? Let's try that one more time. How y'all doing today? Awesome, awesome. Y'all look good, beautiful young people. So how you doing? When I was asked to speak, I was told that it was a group of all men. And so obviously that's not the case here, but I would like to greet both the young men here and the young women here, so welcome. Yeah, you could clap for that. There we go. And so I want to start off because I have a firm belief that not only what makes you a young man or a young woman, but just what makes you a strong person is how you confront challenges, right? There's a quote that I like that says, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but how you respond to fear." Raise your hand if you've ever been just like terribly afraid, like if you've ever been scared. Okay, put your hands down. Raise your hands if you've, and just to see who's in the room and what, raise your hands if you've ever heard gunshots. When I was in 4th grade, I heard gunshots. I'm just proud that I could say I did not pee in my pants, but I was terrified, right? So if you hear gunshots and you don't know where the bullets are flying, that's a very terrifying feeling, right? So courage is not the absence of fear, but how you respond in the face of fear. So there's this call and response that I want to practice with you all today. When I say, "What is it?" right? I want y'all to say, "It's nothing." All right, can y'all do that? Let's try it. What is it? Y'all got to say it louder, stronger, and quicker, right? Because what you're doing is you're training your inner self to believe in yourself in the face of adversity. Let's try it one more time. What is it? I like that energy. That's how you're supposed to do it. All right, so in the middle of my speech at any point in time, if I say that to get y'all attention, I want that to be y'all response. Y'all gonna remember that? Okay. Now, my background, I was a Spanish teacher for 7 years or so. And I see we have some people that look like, I don't want to make any assumptions that you might speak Spanish. Raise your hand if you speak Spanish. Okay. Okay. Entonces, por una parte de mi presentación voy a hablar solo en español y el resto de ustedes van a tener que traducirlo o buscar la traducción en tu teléfono, okay? All the black people like, what? Right? No, so my background is a Spanish teacher. And so as a teacher, I have a firm belief that no student is a blank slate, right? When y'all step into the classroom, it's not my job to tell you how to think, right? It's not my job to just tell you what your life is supposed to be and how you're supposed to move through the world. Half of my job as a teacher is to take the time out to get to know y'all and what your individual passions are, who you are, because everybody is created by God to do something very special and very unique. So if I come in here like I know everything and you don't, I've already made a mistake. So I want to do a quick little activity so that y'all can loosen up, because y'all look like, you know, we supposed to be students, so we trying to behave ourselves. I want y'all to find a partner, somebody here, perhaps somebody that you don't know. Y'all probably sat next to your friends already. And I want y'all to tell them 3 things. And I got to look at my notes. What are my 3 things? So there are 3 statements I want y'all to tell them, right? And you fill in the blank, right? The first one is I am. Everybody say I am. And it's an open-ended question. And then the second one is I believe. And then the third one is I know. All right, so let me give y'all an example. I am a powerful human being. That's me. That would be my response number 1. My second one is I believe Everybody has a unique gift that they're here to give to the world. That's number 2. The third one is, I know that no matter what, my mama gonna love me. You feel me? So that's my I am, I believe, I know. So I'm gonna give y'all 2 minutes. 2 minutes to say your I am, your I believe, and I know with somebody in the room. Ready? Go. What is it? Wow. Wow. Hey, one person got it. What is it? All right, for sure. It's nothing. All right, so raise your hand if you would like to introduce the person that shared their 3 things with you. Can you let her put her hand up? It turned into a wrestling match real quick. Yes. Akila, okay. Everybody say hi, Akila. She's shy. And what share with us one of her I ams, I believes, and I knows. She said, I know my mama gonna make me wash the dishes when I get home. Okay, thank you for that. Akila gotta wash the dishes. Yes. Say it one more time. Skylar. Skylar. Everybody say hi, Skylar. And can share one of her things, please. She believe in God. Amen. I believe. Raise your hand if you believe in God. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Let's get one more person to share who they're go ahead. Share his, yes. Hey, there we go. Everybody clap it up. Wait, you didn't say clap it up for him. Now you didn't say his name. What is his name? Enan Dylan. Dylan Jones? Okay. Because the first time it sounded like something completely different. Dylan? Hey, well, you just saying it with an accent or something. Okay. For sure. So, I appreciate that you guys were open enough to share a little bit of information about yourselves with somebody, right? Sometimes we have an idea of what it looks like to be strong, but sometimes being strong means being open. Sometimes being strong means being vulnerable and being able to share the true version of yourself with somebody else, right? So I want to do exactly the same thing. One of my earliest memories, my father was locked up in jail before I could remember, right? By the time I was like 4 years old, my dad was locked up. Y'all still wrestling and fighting over there? What y'all doing? Okay. Before I can remember, my father was locked up. My dad went to jail, and I later found out it's for crimes he committed to sustain a drug addiction. It was the 80s, and Pops at the time was addicted to the most popular drug in the 80s that hit all black communities. It was crack cocaine, right? Somebody said, yes. Like, what? That's a response? So Pops was locked up when I was a kid, and I remember going to school with that soft spot, right? It's like, I remember kids being like, yo mama this. Raise your hand if you've ever heard somebody say yo mama jokes, right? So yo mama jokes were super common. Yo mama so big, she jumped up in the air and got stuck, right? Yo mama so skinny, she could hula hoop with a Cheerio. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that, right? So a lot of people are super sensitive to yo mama jokes, right? But for me, how many of y'all can imagine what I was sensitive to? If anybody said anything about my pops, it was a problem, right? And I promise you that, right? So me and my brothers, we went to, we used to walk to catch the bus, right? We walked to catch the bus. We hopped on the bus, and I was only 6 years old. Literally, I was a little kid, or 7, mind you. I'm 7 years old. I get on the bus, and y'all remember being so little that the seat to the bus was higher than your head, right? So that's how short I was. The seat was higher than my head. And y'all remember how thin the cushion on the seat was. So if somebody kicking the back of the seat, it's like they kicking you right in the back. So that's what was happening. This kid was kicking the back of the seat, and I could feel it in my back. So the tiny guy I stand up, right? I don't even need this mic. Should I continue using the mic? All right. So we got mixed votes. So the little guy I stand up in the seat and I turn around, and I wasn't even, I didn't ask for fights right away, but if it was brought to me, I was taught to handle it. So I turn around, I'm like, hey man, stop kicking my chair, right? And so kids, sometimes they just want to test the water. So he's like, or what? Da-da-da-da-da. He starts talking trash, and it turns into a little bagging session. He's like, your mama's so ugly, right? And I'm like, okay, but just don't say nothing about my dad. So I like to bait them and see if they would do it. Well, your grandmother, don't say nothing about my dad. Your auntie, yeah, whatever. I see my auntie all the time, but don't say nothing about what? My dad. And then I think I baited him just enough to where he paused. He was like, he's not going to do anything. And he looks at me, he's like, well, your dad, before he could get the words out. Right, and I remember he started crying before I finished punching him. So I remember and I'm not advocating violence at all. I'm just telling y'all a true story. This kid is crying, and I'm punching him in the cry face, right? So I'm so little that the bus driver, he looks back, it's a fight happening. He literally grabs me, carries me to the front, and sets me down as like, go home, right? Because the bus hadn't even taken off yet. And raise your hand if you've ever gotten a fight, and then what's the first thing you do? Cry. Who said it? The first thing you do after the fight, it don't matter if you win or lose. And that was my thing. I won, but after the fight, I'm like, he shouldn't have said nothing about my dad. He was mean, right? But I beat him up. So I go home to my mom, tears still in my eyes, and I tell my mom what happened. And at this time, I'm not sure if I'm going to get in trouble. And guess what my mom did? She did not whoop me. He said whoop me. She did not whoop me. She made me a meal, right? She made me some food and was like, it's okay, baby, because she understood that was a soft spot. Now, what's interesting is that when my father was away, in the absence of a real man in my home, I thought that being tough is what made me a man, right? When my dad came home, we went from fighting in school all the time to being in karate class, so still learning and loving combat, but in a very structured and disciplined way, right? So the presence of real mentors, and people who can guide you and show you and be an example to you, it immediately changed my life, starting with my father, and then throughout my life, it was always about having a mentor who is an example of where I want to be, right? So there are 3 things that I wanted to leave you guys with, because I'm not going to hold y'all up too long. There are 3 things I wanted to leave y'all with that as you guys mature, right, you guys have a whole lot of growth. You're gonna go through seasons of life, go through challenges and things, but I believe in equipping young people with healthy principles that guide how you move through the world. All right, so the first thing, there's a quote that says, you're either in the gym or the hospital. And somebody give me what you think that means before I explain it. You're either in the gym or the hospital. What does that mean? Yes. Oh, beat or get beat. I'm not mad at that. Interesting. Anybody else? Yes. Hey, you either working hard at the gym or you're getting in trouble at the hospital. One more person. How you doing, by the way? Good to see you. Okay, so the gym represents a place where you prepare before the challenge, right? If you're in a sport, you're in the gym putting in work, getting ready for the season, right? The hospital represents the place where you go in response to an injury, in response to something that happens, right? So when you're in the gym, it's like, I'm going to get strong so that when I'm confronted with challenges, I'm prepared, When you're in the hospital, it's I haven't prepared. I've allowed life to inflict its will on me versus the other way around. So some things about things that allow you to really, some principles that allow you to really apply that quote, right? I want y'all to repeat after me. Say, define success. Let's do that again. Define success for yourself. Don't let anybody tell you what success looks like, or don't allow your environment to tell you what success is. There are a lot of people who have somebody else's view of success that are not happy. There are a lot of people with money that are not happy because they're doing something that they don't love, right? I'd rather be in the right place for free than get paid to be in the wrong place. So a lot of people... It's a lot of people in jail right now who got war stories and stories of how much money they used to have, but the way they got it didn't allow them to sustain it, right? So define success for yourself. That's one. Number two, everybody say design yourself. So this is the principle about being in a gym, right? We start off with define success for yourself, and then once you decide what success looks like for you, then you have to design yourself. Being in a gym is not just, and I believe in being in a gym in a literal sense, right? After this, if anybody want to challenge me to a push-up contest, I'm taking all comers. I'm trying to look for the strongest looking kid here, right? Point to who you think could beat me in a push-up contest. You? Oh, I got you. All right, afterwards. But no, design yourself. Okay. All right, stop pointing now. That's enough. Thank you. All right. Design yourself, and the principle of being in the gym versus the hospital, I believe in the literal sense, being in the physical gym, because exercise is one of the healthiest activities you could do. There are studies that show that people with a bad diet who exercise are actually almost just as healthy, if not more healthy, than people with a good diet who don't move their bodies. Motion is a very healthy thing. But if we're talking about the figurative sense of what exercise is, if you consider your mind a muscle, we're talking about reading. We're talking about the conversations you have. We're also talking about the type of people that you hang around, right? As kids, you got to go to school, so you end up around some of everybody. But as adults, it becomes particularly important to carefully select the type of people you hang around, and at school as well, right? So that's a big part of designing yourself. And I have this acronym that I use. I wish I had a whiteboard or something. But it's called PREP. Everybody say PREP. And this is what I like to do before I go out into the world and have a whole lot of things on my plate. Everybody say, for the P, everybody say, and this is me personally, I'm not sure what y'all's spiritual belief is, but for me, the way I start my day with prayer. So everybody say pray. All right. Then the R is read. Everybody say read. And it doesn't matter if it's an audio book, it doesn't matter if it's a quote, something small, but words are actual food, and there are no words more important than the words you tell yourself, right? So when you read stuff and you read it out loud especially, that's like putting seeds of positivity into your soul. So pray, read, and then E, what do y'all think E is? Both. E has two. It's eat and exercise. Hopefully you can get to do both before you hit the world, right? Ain't nothing worse. When I was a teacher, I could always tell when my students were hungry. They just had that hungry face, like they look sad. They was like, I was like, you ain't eat, did you? I used to keep, when my first year teaching, I used to keep bread, peanut butter, and jelly in the cabinet. But that's neither here nor there. But so we got what? What's the first P? Pray. That's for me. Take it, leave it. Sorry if it's not supposed to be, God is good. What's the R? Read. What's the E? Eat, exercise. And what's the last P? I like prepare. It's actually plan, but prepare and plan are synonymous, right? So if you make these things a habit, and even though it may sound like a whole lot of stuff to do, but you can have a healthy 10-minute routine where you can get a little, because I understand that life hits you, right? And sometimes you're like, oh, I'm late, and you get to scrambling. Sometimes the prayer might be, God help me, and you go, right? The reading might be a quote on your wall. Okay, let me get that. Exercise might be, some stretching, some motion, and then the plan is like write down 3 things that you want to accomplish in that day. That's a whole lot better than just going out and running, right? So that's something I wanted to leave y'all with. And before I close, while I'm looking through my phone, I'm going to test y'all. What is it? Man, y'all are doing terrible. What is it? All right, for sure. Design yourself is number 2. And then number 3 is write your story and live it. All right, everybody say, write your story and live it. There's a Bible scripture that says, write the vision and make it plain. It's something powerful about taking your ideas and putting them down on paper. Even if it's as simple as one sentence saying, I want to be blank. He said, I want to be the next LeBron James, right? I said as a kid, I want to be a producer. I've since produced, award-winning songs. I said I want to be a classical pianist. I've since played piano in front of large audiences. All right, so quick quiz. What's the first bullet point? Define what? Define success for yourself. What's your name, my man? Brian, man, you're a great audience member. I appreciate you being here. Number 2 is what? Design yourself. And that's talking about the habits that you enact every day. And then number 3 is write your story and live it. I just want to take this time out to appreciate y'all. Y'all have been a beautiful audience. I also want to open up for questions real quick, just in case y'all have any questions for me. Yes. My highest push-up count, I think I got 75 in me. Any other questions? Yes. I sound like J. Cole? Okay, thank you. J. Cole is an incredible rapper. You talk about my speaking voice? Got you. Yes. Yes, I rap. Thank you so much. That's a good question. I've always worked extremely hard, right? Extremely hard. When I was a teacher, I believed in preparing. I believed in putting my best foot forward and working extremely hard. What changed my life is when I decided to be consistent. I started putting out content once a week, and it was content. The question that I wanted to answer is what makes me different as an artist. So I started putting out content called Run the Subtitles, where I would rap in English and Spanish, and then when I was rapping in English, I would have Spanish subtitles, and when I was rapping in Spanish, I would have English subtitles, and then the internet just picked it up, and they were like, who is this black dude out of Inglewood that's rapping in multiple languages and stuff? Next thing you know, I get a phone call where they're like, hey, look, we want you to be on this show called Rhythm and Flow. And then I went on Rhythm and Flow, and it was a lot of dope rappers there, and I just kept watching them fall off one by one, And the next thing you know, by the end of it, I'm looking in front of Cardi B, Chance the Rapper, and T.I., and they're like, and it's a dude next to me named Flawless. And they're like, and the winner is, and I just waited. And they said, DSmoke. And I dropped my head. I went to take a knee to thank God, and then Flawless hug me, just tackle me, like, hey, congrats, you know. But what happened is I decided to be consistent and follow myself once a week. And I was ready. Everybody, a lot of people in music try to blow up, right? And the irony is when you decide to grow up instead of blow up, it ends up happening faster, right? When you decide I'm going to take every step, I'm going to take one step at a time and consistently grow week by week, then the blow up happened. But if I'm trying to shoot, if I'm swinging for the fence, I'm more likely to miss. Whereas if I'm like, I'm going to get a base hit, then I make perfect contact, and it's over the fence. So that's a good question. Yes. I was going to do that at the end, but since y'all insist. That last day on Rhythm and Flow, I said this rap right here. I said, this one's for love, for mothers that's grieving. This for that dreamer in that class that's underachieving. This for believers whose faith is all that's keeping them breathing. This the Garden of Eden. This for all of my heathens. This one's for Inglewood, both in Chicago and Cali. This one's for Manchester and Crenshaw, for rallies. Happy moments happen to be sprinkled throughout half of these tragedies. Actually, I just start embracing change. It's safe to say that growth is an uncomfortable process, and pain is a necessary investment for progress. I stress that if ever you get ill or hurt against your will, this just a quiz from God. This is our test. Yes. This time is going to be different. I'm going to bless the world with honest quotes in every sentence and get better every moment, just like Beverly mentioned. Hard times, but never resentment. I stay forever relentless. Let's go. Y'all have a blessed one. My name is DSmoke.